This is the Average Joe Strongman Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Lee. This is my half-sister, Mike, and this is the Average Joe Strongman Show.
Yes, it is. We got a great episode tonight with a gentleman, an extremely accomplished and very handsome strongman competitor, athlete. He won the first USS Nationals in 2016 as an open lightweight competitor in the 181 class. He then won the overall lightweight masters division at USS Nationals in 2019 in Columbus. He won lightweight masters worlds last year, 2021. He's competed in Norway and Finland for Strongman's Champions League in the 90 kilo class. He's competed at the Arnold twice in the lightweight strongman division. Best finish was second place. He broke 4 U.S. national records in his first and only powerlifting meet. And currently he's the only male athlete to hold 2 USS national championship belts. Again, just quite a career. All-around good dude who has appropriately earned the nickname of BigTime. So without further ado, Mr. Tim Kovach, everybody. BigTime.
Hey, motherfuckers.
There he is.
There he is, man. There he is. Hey, Tim, what lit the spark and got you started in strongman those many years ago? What got you interested?
You know, it was I was visiting family. It was my ex-wife's family. We were married at the time in the Quad Cities, and there was a show. There was a poster, strongman show. I called the promoter, who was Willie Wessels, and talked to him a little bit. And he's like, "Just come out and try it." So I did. I finished last, but I had a really, a lot of fun doing it, and wanted to do more. So,
when was that? How long ago?
2009.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
Yeah.
So we've been in it for a while.
way back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Hey, so were you an athlete in high school or college? I mean, did you do organized sports? Or
I was a
anything like
wrestler.
that before you got into strongman?
Yeah.
There you go.
I was a wrestler.
Awesome.
And I started training, in the basement at 16, 17, something like that. And once the wrestling was over, I just continued to train.
Yeah. Well, you and Lee have something in common because he likes to roll around and get sweaty with guys, but he does it for money. You did it for trophies and medals and for sport.
Hey, $20 is $20, man.
Hey, I would do it. I would do it for money too.
Fair enough. What is it that's kept you in it for so long? What do you love most about the sport, Tim?
It's a lot of it's just the training, just the constant.
Yeah.
I mean, we beat ourselves up pretty good, but it's the constantly trying to improve on something, and there's so many different challenges, so many new challenges that come on in every given contest. It's one of those things. As far as a strength sport, it's always different. Powerlifting,
right?
You do the same 3 lifts all the time, and that's fine. Yep. Not something that really excites me personally. I'd rather just try different things, and just do different things for every contest.
Yeah. And
there's also the athletic component about it. You have to not only be able to lift heavyweight, but you have to move with it too.
Right.
So those are kind of things that are just a constant challenge all the time.
Yeah. No, I would say the same thing. That I love about it. And when people say, "Oh, you're a bodybuilder," no, I'm not. Right. And I try to explain the difference between bodybuilding and powerlifting and strongman. Right. And I say that very same thing where it's like, hey, powerlifters are strong as hell, but they're lifting the weight. We're actually lifting it and carrying it, or loading it, or doing something else with it besides just lifting it. So, and again, not taking anything away from a power lifter. I know some really strong people,
Sure.
But it's just it's different. There is that athleticism required.
Yeah.
For
Well,
sure.
and I guess the other thing about it too is you have to rise to the weights that are chosen for you. You're not going to walk in. It's not as entry level as powerlifting is. You can
Right.
powerlift and you got to squat 55 pounds, bench and deadlift 40, or whatever they do for the deadlift. I don't know what the lightest you can go there, but
yeah.
So it's probably, and that's probably why powerlifting may be a little bit, more common than strongman is it can be done in just about any gym.
It's more accessible. Yeah,
Sure.
definitely.
You don't need as much equipment and stuff, but
Yeah, for sure.
But it's boring.
It's boring.
Oh, this is gonna piss some people off.
Yeah, they're used to hearing it. So,
Yeah.
Tim, in addition to competing, I mean, you've been promoting strongman competitions for a number of years as well. What was your first strongman competition that you hosted, and how'd that go?
Oh yeah, I promoted with my wife Sue. We promoted the first USS contest, the first ever.
Oh wow!
USS contest, and I forget what we called it, but it was actually a co-ed team contest.
Huh.
So one man, one woman. We were going to have just two different weight classes, but we didn't have. I mean, most everybody would have ended up being in the lightweight class anyway, so we just made it open. And Sue and I, we didn't since we competed in it, but since we were promoters, we told everybody that if we won, we wouldn't take the whatever we were giving away at that contest. And I mean, we won, but
because you're Tim, right?
Because we won. Yeah, so
It's the BigTime and Medi show.
Yeah.
All right.
but I mean, it was pretty cool. We had like we didn't specify any of the weights, like whether the man or the woman had to do it.
Really?
Yeah, so it was like kind of a strategic choice. So
Yeah.
we had a press medley where you had to run to the side and tag each other in, and it had to be
That's awesome.
back and forth. But we had like 6-7 different objects out there of varying weights. So that was like you had to work with your partner and be like, okay, you're gonna take those.
That's
gonna
cool.
do these, whatever. Then we did call it a tandem truck pull. So we had a I don't know, it's probably a 15,000 pound truck.
Okay.
With 2 harnesses on the front of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
So, but then we also had some slack rope and then another 3/4 ton crew cab truck behind it. So you would start to pull the big
Wow.
Man.
truck. Yeah.
Evil
you pull
bastard.
And then the
like,
hammer comes in.
Yep, you pull it like 15 feet, and then just when you're starting to make momentum, and then the other one kicked in.
Talk about a
so-
sadistic son of a
yeah,
bitch.
yeah. So that was pretty mean. And then we did like it was like a keg, or it was a frame carry and drag. So the person who carried this frame that we had, if I remember right, you were carrying your partner,
Oh,
and then the person who did the carry would jump in the sled, and your partner would drag that sled back.
that sounds awesome and awful.
Awesome.
Oh,
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And then we did a stone load, kind of the same idea as the press,
Yeah.
one or the other. And then we did, actually I wish I had a picture of it, but we did a tandem deadlift. So a 2-person deadlift.
Yeah.
And I have a picture somewhere of Sue and I with, I mean, it was full of 40, I think 945 was as heavy as it would go with the plates that we had.
Yeah.
So, there's a picture of us doing that. And we made every team had to like show up as a theme, right? In like costume or something.
Right.
So
right.
Sue and I were police. My friend Pete Berg and his wife showed up, and they didn't tell us what they were going to be. We told them we were going to be police. They showed up, and they were inmates.
Nice.
Yeah, and we had.
Now, were you like regular police or like sexy police? Like with the, you go to Lover's Lane and get the sexy cop outfit. Like,
Mike, who are you talking to?
I know.
That's right.
I know.
That's right.
Fair point. Why don't even ask? I'm glad I didn't even ask.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a lot of fun.
No, that sounds cool. So one thing you said that just kind of like there's so many things that I kind of want to dig into there, but earlier in the conversation you talked about like just strongman and the need to be creative, right, as a promoter. Well, you obviously did that in that first comp, right?
Yeah.
And I think for some people who are out there looking at what competition, what show they want to go do, I mean, log press, axle press, deadlift variations, farmer's walk, yoke. I mean, it's all pretty straightforward, right? But how important is it from your perspective as a promoter to throw something in that is unique and different? And just as an example, like the comp I'm going to do in August, it's not just a deadlift, it's a farmer's handle deadlift, which I've actually never seen in a comp. So you're holding two hands and you got to deadlift and just you're not moving with it.
I've seen it. I've done it in a medley before.
Okay. Yeah. But so maybe not original, but unique, right? But how important is it for you as a promoter?
Different. You don't see that very often.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't think you really have to get too crazy. I think some people try to get too far out of the box.
Yeah.
And then it just gets weird. It's like either nobody can do it or it's way too light and everybody's just killing it and whatever. So I'm more, a lot of times I'm more traditional with my events, and I just make them hard in different ways.
Okay.
So like one year, you on a farmer's, usually it's like 100-foot course at 50 feet. You either set it down, turn around and come back, or you have to make a turn around something.
Right.
Like we did at nationals, we made them turn.
Yeah.
Well, I did a contest where I made you do 2 turns. And you had to complete those 2 turns. So, and going into it, I had a number of guys tell me like, I think that's pretty light. I think you should up the weights for that. And I'm like, okay, let's see.
Let's see.
What'd they say after?
They said, no, that the weight was right.
Yeah.
Because most of them didn't finish.
Yeah.
It's like one turn is one thing, but putting a second one in there.
Yeah. Well, Lee and I have gotten into this habit now of like whenever one of us has a show, we send the other the matrix. Just look to you, right? Just to get somebody else's eyes on it, right? Because you can test it yourself, you can have people you train with test it, but it's always good to get somebody else's, opinion, perspective. And
I you know what? I think for nationals, I reached out to probably 8 different people.
Yeah.
On my weights for my local shows, I'll usually maybe 4 or 5 different people. I'll just run it by them.
Yeah.
And I think if you're not doing that as a promoter, you're doing a disservice to the athletes you want to compete.
Agreed.
Because some stuff's going to be really off. And I've seen it. I've seen male promoters have no idea what they should pick for women, and I've seen women have no idea what they should pick for men, and then it turns out to be something that they probably didn't want to see.
Sure.
Because I mean everybody's got like a vision of what they want to see from the contest. And for me, mine is usually I want it to be heavy, I want it to be challenging, and I want people to fail.
Right.
But I also want some people to, do fairly well.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of the old Gillingham mentality of choosing weights is a third should fail, a third should do okay, and a third should, do well.
You got to know going in that some people are going to zero, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? But just not everybody.
That's right.
Right. I mean, it's part of the sport. I've zeroed a number of times. I mean, it just happens.
Not anymore, though. I mean,
it's been a very long time.
Yes.
So,
they call him big time.
At what point? So you started in 2009. You said competing. At what point did you decide to throw your hat in the ring as a promoter? You remember?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was basically
was it a USS show?
It was that USS show, but I guess the reason why, and I don't remember the year of that, but the reason why I decided to do that was at that point in time. And so I did my first winter assault.
Yep.
That the February or the March after I did that show.
Okay.
And the reason why I did that is because at that time there was hardly anything here in Minnesota in the winter. Mm-hmm. There were 2 summer shows. And that was it.
Yep.
So I was like, well, I know that after doing this for a couple of years, I know that it would be nice to have something to look forward to in the winter.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how Winter Assault was born, is just giving athletes something to do, something to train for, instead of having this long off season unless you want to travel somewhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of the athletes, it's, we're not making a ton of money in strongman.
No,
you guys aren't. I am, but
no. What you talking about?
I was just saying.
Making it rain. Making it rain.
Oh my God.
So I mean, not everybody can afford to travel to compete. So
Sure.
Yeah.
That was kind of the other thing, is have a local show, give them the opportunity to do it. And the biggest challenge was finding venues, but I seem to find them okay.
They're doing it right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So Tim, what do you think it takes to be successful as a promoter? I mean, can you give us 2 or 3, maybe key qualities that, or skills that somebody needs, to have in order to run a good quality strongman show? Mike and I talk about this constantly, about, quality of shows and what promoters bring to the experience for the athletes. Just what's your insight on that?
Well, you have to be really, really good looking.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck, I'm out. I'm done. Lee, you better hang it up right now.
Hey,
man.
come on, man. Come on. Anyway.
So, I guess one of the biggest things, and one of, I think one of the things that helped us run nationals is, both Sue and I are very organized. And, I run electrical construction projects, for my career.
Yep.
So, you have to be very organized, on something like that. And I put that into promoting as well, just making sure that, everything's covered, everything's kind of written down. You have your plans, you have your people allotted for, and stuff like that. So organization is a big thing. Aside from that, it helps to know a lot of people who are willing to help you.
Yeah.
Well, and then I think it really helps to actually have spent some time just competing.
Yep.
And seeing what you'd like about shows, what you don't like about shows, things that went well, things that didn't go well.
Yep.
And use that experience of, your own athletic endeavors to just decide, what kind of a show do I want?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And use the things that worked and stay away from the things that didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Well, I think your second point about, having, knowing a lot of people who can help. I mean, I always say, like, the promoter's the main, project manager, the main driver. But if you've got, good volunteers, it makes it or breaks it.
That's
right? If you
what
don't
makes
have
it,
good volunteers, you're done.
Yeah. And I was so fortunate at nationals. I've said it. I don't know how many times I've said it, but I really mean it. Like, I was so fortunate with every single one that came and helped.
Yeah.
They did an awesome job.
Well, I mean, Chad Coy, right? The day before, the day of, the day after.
He was there
2 days before.
Thursday,
Friday,
Saturday, and Sunday.
I mean, when he told me you guys loaded all that stuff yourself, I was amazed. Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was a long, but we started early. We had a plan. We didn't have to kill ourselves in just a couple of hours. We were like,
right.
It's probably going to take all day, but we'll just go at a nice pace.
Yeah.
And
it worked. But I think Lee and I have talked about, Lee's got a crew that he trains with down in at River City. I've got a crew up here, in Chicago. And Lee has done this for years. I've only recently kind of implemented this with my group, but it's like, listen, if I'm promoting a competition, like, I know you guys all want to compete, but the first priority has to be volunteering and helping me put this thing on, because me, how I think, how my brain works, the equipment that we're using, right? Hopefully, the venue that we're at. So again, having those quality, helpers is just of paramount importance.
It's worth its weight in gold for sure. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, let's take a quick break, intermission, and talk about run the slide, show some shows that are coming up over the next few months. We'll
be back. 2 minutes.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Hey, Tim, what's your thought process when you're promoting a show? How do you pick the events? How do you decide which events you want to put in it? Because generally speaking, right, you got push, pull, carry, load, and then maybe a fifth, whether it's a grip event or another, carry event, whatever. How do you decide what you want to put in the show?
Well, I mean, like you just said, you're gonna in my show, you're gonna press something, you're gonna pull something, and I'm gonna want you to load something, and then you're gonna carry some things, and if you have those, I mean, so push, pull, load, carry. That's 4 of your events right there.
Yep.
Your fifth one, whatever. I generally don't like to do a second press or a deadlift.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll say, screw it, we're going to do 2 deadlifts in a meet and see what happens.
Yeah.
But and I don't know. I don't like to get too crazy because I like to keep things kind of traditional, but I also I like to look at nationals events, the upcoming nationals events.
Yep.
And maybe pick things that are somewhat close, somewhat similar, to get people kind of in that mindset of, well, I'm going to compete at this show, so I can get like kind of a dry run on what's going to happen in 4 or 5, 6 months down the road.
Yep.
I was going to do that actually a couple of years ago, prior to your nationals, when everything got postponed, and I wasn't able to do it. But I'm doing that this year on May 14th. I've got my Windy City Strongest Man here in Chicago, and pretty much all the events are mimicking USS Nationals in June in New Hampshire for that same reason, right? To give people an opportunity to do a dry run, use it as a training day, right? And kind of see where they're at 6 weeks, 8 weeks ahead.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I pick weights too. Is if weights are listed also, I'm gonna, unless I don't agree with the weights, if I think they're too heavy or too light, I'm going to do about 90% of what the nationals weights are. Get somewhere in that range. So, I mean, it shouldn't be as heavy as nationals.
Right.
But it should be an opportunity for people to kind of get an idea of what they're getting themselves into.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, the name of the sport, strong man.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, or strong woman. Right.
That's right. So, Tim, one of the, whenever I host an event, every single one of the events that I've promoted, I've always had an Atlas Stone series, because I think that that's a staple in strongman that needs to stay with the sport, and it seems to be going away. So every competition I've ever held, and I think I've just held my 19th show, they've all had an Atlas Stone series regardless. Are there any events that you always like to include in your comps?
Stones.
Is it attaboy?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why
think alike.
Yeah, that's why I did it at nationals too. I mean, it's a huge pain in the ass, but at the end of the day, I agree. It's a strongman staple. It's a real, test of strength. And I can't think of a better way to end a show than something that's just going to beat the piss out of you. But I mean, could make you feel really good too at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's an iconic event. So why not try to include it as much as you can? In some form or fashion. I mean,
actually,
over bar series.
Yeah, go ahead.
But over bar series, carry and load, any number of things. Just get it in there. I mean, stone over bar is pretty easy. You need a yoke, and then you need a few different stones, and whatever. Who cares if the same weight class is going to be using the same weight? Where like a different weight class is going to use the same weight. You just the heavier one will have a few more reps. You don't have to have a separate. You don't have to have all the weight classes and a stone for each one of them.
Yeah. For me, it's grip. I always like throwing a grip event into my shows because people complain. Well, powerlifters complain. We're cheating because we use straps. Okay, well, you might use straps in a deadlift, but guess what? That grip event, there's no straps. There's no tacking. It's just it's you got your grip or you don't.
Grip. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I mean that's something else too that's kind of fun to throw in. You can totally tell the people that aren't really focusing on their grip when you throw a grip event in there.
For sure.
One of the things that thought about throwing into nationals, but then I was like, no, because somebody will fuck it up and get hurt and do, I don't know, people do dumb shit, but
no.
Fuck. But I did bar bending.
Yeah.
3 years ago, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was before the 2019 nationals.
Yep.
It was bar bending. It was 3 different bars. It was the first time I ever did it.
Yep.
And my competition showed me how to bend the bars, and then I beat them.
Awesome.
Excellent.
So
I love when that happens.
So stones are always a staple for you. What about, are there any events that you just absolutely despise that you would be loath to tire flip? Okay.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. I don't know. I've seen, and it's more of a safety reason for me because I've seen so many people tear their bicep.
Yeah.
Flipping a tire. And I don't want to see people get hurt at my shows.
Yeah.
So I just don't.
Bicep tears and Achilles ruptures. Those are the two that have always kind of gone hand in hand with tires.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. You'll never see one at my show either. Tire flip. I've seen too many people get injured.
Yeah,
for sure. So, what about weight matrix? How do you set the weights? I know you were talking about like for the mimicking of the nationals, you set it at like 90%. But for a standard show, how do you develop your weights for a weight matrix?
Well, I mean, it's kind of that, but it's also I do look around at some other shows that are going on to see where they're at. I mean, I have a pretty good idea of what most classes at now of where they kind of should be. And I ask people, just people that I know that have been competing for a long time. I set my weights where I think they should be, and then I reach out to those people and say, what do you think about these? And we tweak them up or down, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is for somebody starting new, just look at what other people are doing, and then write them down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then call somebody. I mean, there's a state rep in pretty much every state that you can call. Yeah. Whether it's,
there's 3 of them right here. I mean,
right. And whether it's USS or Strongman Corp or whatever, they've all got people that you can call.
Right.
Yep.
And just they'll be more than happy to get on the phone and tell you you're a dumbass for your events or weights.
I tell that to Lee every time we talk.
Yep.
But I mean, it doesn't have to be that hard. And then you also got to decide what kind of a show do you want.
Yeah.
Do you want it to be heavy, or do you want it to be a feel good show?
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Whatever. Do you want it to be super novice, super entry level, even for your open classes, or do you want to make those novices work hard?
Yeah, and that's a great point. I think I've tried to make my shows more novice friendly and accessible, except for this one in May, because it's kind of a prep dry run for nationals. The weights are heavier, right? Because they have to be. I'm not going to have somebody come to that show and have it be a more novice, lighter, weight matrix show, and then qualify and then go to nationals and get smoked. You're like, what the fuck, man? What just happened to me? Well, because it didn't lift, anything substantial. So there's definitely a way to approach it, I think, and 2 different ways to look at it, but personal preference.
Yeah,
I want to keep them heavy for the novice because I don't want to have 473 novice and then 3 or 4 people in every other weight class.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of I make it heavy.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of value in both, I think. I mean, I typically try to make my January show heavier. And then my August, your Labor Day show, a little bit lighter and novice friendly. But for me, it's not making it lighter to draw more novices. It's making it, more accessible for the people that want to try to get into the sport, right? For the effort of trying to grow the sport, get new people in there. And so far, it's been pretty successful as far as bringing new names in the sport. That last 2 comps I've had, I mean, maybe a dozen people out of 50, I knew who they were when they walked in the door. So it's good for growing the sport as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
What advice would you give somebody, Tim, who's looking at competitions on which ones to do? Are there any things that you would look for specifically that would make you want to do it, or maybe to avoid the flip side of that? Like, what are your thoughts?
Money.
Yeah.
Look to see if anybody's giving money.
Right.
Well, Are we talking anybody or like a
No, I think anybody. I mean, like, well, it could be a new, it could be anybody. And you kind of hinted at it earlier, or you mentioned it earlier. Like, you know, if there aren't local shows, I mean, not everybody can afford to travel, right?
Yeah.
So some people can, and that's great, good for them. But you know, you want there to be opportunities. And I mean, when I was competing more frequently, you know, 4, 5, 6 times a year, I was looking at, you know, the events first. It's stuff that I want to do, that I enjoy doing. Or like, you know, you said you hate tire flips, right? So if there was an event with a tire or comp with a tire flip, I'm not doing that event. I'm not doing that show, right? So I guess that's what I'm going for, is like, you know, what do you think people, or what should their decision making process be? Any advice?
Well, I think first you gotta look at the show and what it is, you know.
Yeah.
Because when I competed in Norway, there was a 850-pound tire flip I had to do, and I was like, well, I'm not going to miss this opportunity because I don't like to flip a tire.
Yeah.
You know, so I went, I did it, I sucked it up. I actually did quite well in that event. It surprised me.
Nice.
But the dimensions of the tire matched up perfectly with my dimensions, which
it leverage.
It helps when those leverages kind of line up. But so that's the one thing, is if you have a goal contest that you want to do, then you should find out. And if it's like an invite thing or a qualify thing, first off, find out what you got to do to get there and do those shows. You know, if you're just doing it to have fun, just look for events that look fun.
Yeah.
You know, stuff that you've been like, I've never done that before, but I'd like to try.
Right.
You know, it's all basically goal driven. Once you know what your goals are, then pick your shows from there.
Yeah.
And challenge yourself. You know, I hate doing axle myself.
Yeah. We hear that a lot. We hear that a lot.
Yep.
But I'll still.
So do my biceps, both of them.
You know what? And that was the other thing in that Norway show. It was a 2-day contest, and the first day we had to do a clean and press every rep, and the second day we had to do a max.
Oh, sons of bitches.
Yeah. So that was fun. That was good times.
Evil Norwegian bastards,
for sure.
I know.
So switching gears a little bit, Tim, still back on competitions, and Mike and I have had this debate, and actually Mike's educated me on this. And I've learned my lesson painfully. What about size of your shows? I mean, is there a target number of competitors that you look for, an ideal number of competitors that you strive for?
Yeah, I typically don't want to have more than 50.
This is the same conversation that Mike and I just had, because my August show last year, you know, I was trying to just max out. I mean, how many people?
Yeah.
You know, and I had a lot of, you know, really cool events, and I drew.
You had what, 90 sign up?
I had 90 sign up, and I ended up with like 78 that competed, and it was 100-degree day.
Brutal.
And it just almost killed my staff. And that's when the reality hit me that, hey, you know, what am I doing? Right?
We were talking kind of lessons learned at the end. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Right. I'm like, I was dead for days, and my staff was dead. I'm like, I can't do that to them again. So,
And to your point earlier, Tim, I think for me, 50's been my number, my goal number, and kind of my cap number, because to your point, like when I've been to shows, if it's only like 15, 20 people, really small, it's like, yeah, it's fun. It runs fast. But like, I like being in a bigger group, right? There's just more competition in your division, right?
Yeah.
But once it gets past 50, right, then you're talking about, you know, 60, 70. You got to think about how many lanes you're running and how much equipment you need. So
I was just gonna say that. You gotta either, and again, you got to decide what you want it to look like.
Yeah.
Because you're either going to have 2 lanes and 2 of identical implements.
Yep.
Right. So you can have the same class going at the same time, or you'll have 2 lanes with different classes going. And then, so it makes it easier. I mean, you can borrow stuff for that too.
Yep. Sure.
But there's also the possibility that I've thought about, of doing, I think it was maybe 2017 nationals. It was in
Detroit.
It was
2017 was Detroit.
What I'm thinking,
2018 was New York.
Where was Louisville?
2016.
2016.
26. Okay, so it's 2016.
Hot as balls there too.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But they had 2 different events going at the
Yep.
same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, so you didn't necessarily start with event 1.
Yeah.
But
that was
whatever.
a byproduct, I think, of they had 4 pieces of everything. Like they had 4 fingers,
Yeah.
4 Conan's wheels,
Yeah.
right? And they had
Yeah.
to split it up and stagger it because in order to accommodate. Yeah, you're right.
Yep. So I mean, there's options, but as soon as you get past that 50 mark, you're going to have to start really looking at those options. You're going to need more staff.
Yeah.
You're going to need more room. So, you know, there's all those things that, you know, as a promoter, you're going to get more money coming in, but you're also going to spend more money.
Yeah,
sure.
You know, trying to make that other stuff happen.
Lee, what was that number again? What did he say?
What? Shut up. 50.
I'm just curious. What was it? 50?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was 50. Shut up.
Just
Yeah,
making
that's
sure. All right.
Tim, that was exactly the number that Mike gave me. He's like, dude, you need to be shooting at 50 and let it sell out and, you know, adjust everything to that. And actually, I just did this for my show I just did 2 weeks ago, and it ran really well. I mean, I couldn't be happier with how it went. So, just went really well.
Tim, what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about promoting their first strongman show?
I would say find a local show and go and offer to help.
Yeah.
Tell them, tell them you're planning on doing a show and you'd like to just help them, you know, throughout the day. And whether it's, you know, whether you're helping load and unload, reset equipment or score or just whatever, you'll get an understanding of what it takes, and you keep your eye on that promoter and see what he's doing, because
that's great advice.
They're doing a lot more than what people think they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's one of the reasons, like when I helped you guys last year, I wanted to see a show of that scale, what all was involved. And that cemented for me the notion that I don't ever want to do that. I just don't. I mean, you guys did an amazing job and it was an awesome day, but no thank you. And no thank you.
Yeah. And at the same time, a lot of people probably don't know, but at the same time of putting that together, that nationals and organizing all that, I was still flying from Minneapolis to Nashville, Mondays, flying to Nashville Monday, flying home Thursday. So I was working all week in Nashville while flying home, for the weekends and trying to get this thing going. So,
man, well, kudos to you guys. That was awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, that's all we have. That's all the time we have for this evening. But I want to thank you for being a part of this. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, man. Always good to hang with you for a bit.
Yeah.
Lee, anything else?
No, we could go on for hours. That just means we got to bring you back. So thanks again, Tim, for bringing us on. I think you gave the wife a run for her money. So
nope, Sue beat him. Sorry, Tim.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm on team big time for this one.
Well, guess what? Hey, we're still recording, so he's got another,
I think okay. So I think that when it comes to subject matter, and we're talking about something that's, as important as promoting a fucking show, that, that's, you're trying to get all the information in, right? So, but when you're talking about more candid stuff, like, your competition experiences and stuff like that, you can be a little bit more colorful.
Sure.
Just one more. Okay. All right.
Absolutely. I'm still
again,
team
man.
Big Mike. So still team big time for me. So Sue, sorry, you did a great show, but I think big time got you on this one.
Have a great
Tim,
weekend,
thanks again
man.
for joining us,
Appreciate
and we'll talk to you
guys.
soon.
Sounds good.